Hello, everybody, and welcome to Thursdays at 2, episode 2,
You were
with the one
stimulating
and
me.
only Doug Kramer from Days But Not Confused. How's it going, Doug?
Good, Alex. Thanks for having me on, man. And it sucks that every time we have to say Thursday before too, and I'm going to have to deal with the restem. But please carry on.
It was your idea.
I'm just kidding.
So for those of you who didn't join us last week, this is a new weekly segment that Doug and I are going to be doing. Last week we talked about recovery and our recovery journeys and what it's been like for both of us. In fact, let's talk about that a little bit first, actually, like how now we've had time to like reflect and think about it. Like what are your thoughts on last week? I think it was a really good discussion.
I thought it was fantastic. In fact, we can even take that further, either in this interview, because I know we're going to do a bit of a demonstration and role playing so people can see how people get manipulated, me being the public, and Alex, he's going to serve as the staff member. I thought we just hit the tip of the iceberg, my man. We could do a whole episode just on Steve Hassan's book, which I'd kind of like to do, breaking down the creation of the false identity, the self-identity, the real identity. We covered some of the bite model. And I think we just hit on the recovery, but the feedback was good. And that's the kind of stuff that I know you like to do. And I like to focus on less on the drama and who's Tom Cruise is sleeping with and how do we help people and help ourselves get out of this frickin' thing rather than just talk about it endlessly. I thought it was fantastic, man.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've always said from day one, what I'm trying to do with my channel is share people's experiences and stories. And I try and be as fair and balanced as possible. And I deliberately don't attack Scientology because there are plenty of channels out there doing that and there's a place for it. But my goal is just to share experiences and stories and get the community involved and in a way help people recover through that, but also just being honest and open and discussing and talking about these things. Because in my recovery process, hearing other people's stories was really helpful to put things into perspective into my mind. So it's good. I think from the feedback that I've seen on the comments too, like I think that definitely rang true and people are seeing that. And I think this Thursdays at 2 thing is a really good way of continuing to do that because we can, talk about so many different things, and everyone in the comments, we do listen and read them. And if there's something in particular that you want us to go into, like we can go into that and we can dedicate a whole episode to whatever. So there's so much I think I'm interested and excited for what's going to happen with Thursdays at 2.
Me too. And I believe, do we have Catherine coming on next week to help us break down the tone scale?
Yeah, I believe so. So Catherine Olsen reached out after the one we did last week, and she wanted to jump on this week, but something came up. So I think we're aiming for next week, but don't hold us to it just yet, guys, because we haven't figured out the logistics. But we do want to bring other people on and guests and have a nice discussion. And, we'll talk about all sorts of different things, the tone scale. Today, we're talking about manipulation and love bombing and the recruitment side of things, and going into real depth in how it affected us and how it worked for us. And I think the goal for me anyway, is to help people see and understand like exactly what it looks like and how it works, because I think you hear lots of stories about, oh, they manipulate, they coerce and all of this, but actually put it into perspective of some real life examples. I think people will start to understand the mindset and what Scientology actually does to someone in the brain, rather than just the abuse stories, which obviously are, there's a place for that and they need to be told. But the majority of Scientologists are, go through a very similar experience of coercion and manipulation and that sort of thing. And that's what I want to kind of bring to light in this video.
And you also mentioned that unlike other cults, we're not all, Alex will tell you, he was genuinely trying to help people. And the people that manipulated me onto staff for a couple of weeks before I went bonkers, they were my best friends. Unlike the Keith Raniere cult or other cults, as you were mentioning, Alex, it's not just like the leader from above is saying, give me all your freaking money, and everybody kind of knows it's a scam and recruits. Like Hubbard wasn't, Hubbard even himself believed in it. I don't know how much David Miscavige does, but I'm sure he's a true believer on some level. So it's a really weird trap where nobody has to be in on a secret. we're all programmed to program others. And once they grab our minds and they believe in, and we believe in it, like I did, you become a very dangerous person. Like Alex told you could sell a book to anybody, and he could, because he believed in what he was doing. And we're going to, somewhere in this podcast, we're going to do a role play where I'm going to be the public and he's going to give me an example. I'll show you, we'll show you guys what I actually went through and the kind of pressure they put you on to basically become a Sea Org member or a staff member, or if you're really rich, to drain you of all your money. There's really no place where you can relax in this cult, and it's always the next level that's going to give you the thing. And I think we're going to get into that too as well, right, my man?
Yeah. Absolutely. And so before we get cracking on it, I think let's do a bit of housekeeping. So first of all, everyone in the comments, we can see all of your comments together. We are both live streaming on Doug's channel and my channel. So whichever one you're on, please go and give the other one a follow. We are going to be doing this every week, so try and mix it up, and why not watch this stream from both channels and have one muted? That will help us both out. But as I always say, the best way of helping YouTube channels grow and helping us is engagement. And I know it sounds really cheesy, but genuinely pressing the like button, subscribing, commenting, that actually pushes this stream out to more people, and that helps us grow and helps message get out there even further. So please do like, comment, subscribe, share, all of that sort of stuff on both channels. It really helps us out. If you want to support us in a financial way, both Doug and I have coffee set up, so you can buy us a coffee. There's a link for my one in my description and a link for Doug's one in his description. You can also do super chats and that sort of thing, and we will split the cost of super chats that happen in this stream. But as I said, neither of us are in this for the money. We're just trying to raise awareness and share stories. So like, share, subscribe is the main thing. In terms of format, we're going to try and keep this to about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. So we'll do a bit of talking. We are reading the comments, but what we'll do is when we kind of come towards a natural sort of close, we'll then go into Q&A and start answering some of your questions. So we are reading the chats, but we're not ignoring you. We're kind of saving it for the end, and we'll go from there. Does that sound good to you?
Sounds good to me, and it sounds good to the chat. If you guys have any questions too that are pertinent to what we're talking about, just throw it out there, and I'm sure Alex can bring it up.
Yeah, are you able to start comments from your side?
I just tried. I can't. I just tried it. Let me see if there's
I'll try and keep.
No, I can, however, block user or put user in timeout. So you guys better get your ethics in. God damn it!
And follow what Goldie says.
Doug's a gold digger. I know, Denver. I'm making such a killing off of this. I mean, some ex-Scientologists, by the way, are making a killing on this, but I'm thousands in the hole, man.
We got. Sorry, we're going to say something. Go on.
I was just going to say, Hubbard himself asked an interesting question. He says, Alex, do you think people who have left cults suffer from fawning? It's a great question, Mr. Hubbard, and glad to have you in the chat from Target 2. How are you, sir?
What does fawning mean?
I don't know. I think he's just being a smart ass. Either that or I have an MU. Does anybody have a dictionary on hand? Can they clear the word? Doesn't fawning over someone from meaning like a celebrity doting, right?
Yeah.
So do you mostly suffer from fawning? Just over you, Hubbard. I mean, you're such a beautiful man, and the tech that you instilled in my brain, which I'm still 15 years trying to get out of my head, I definitely was fawning over you, sir. Thank you for the comment.
And now you're fawning over me. The bromance is real, dude. All right, so let's get cracking. I think the first point that we should talk about maybe is purpose. So like you mentioned previously, a sense of purpose is really integral to everything Scientology does and everything Scientologists do. Because the idea is Scientology is a way of helping yourself, but also helping the planet. And one of the key ways that they get you on board, when you walk in and do your personality test or start an introductory course or read a book, they don't throw this on you straight away. They help you find out for yourself and get a few benefits from it and get you to the place where they go, well, look, this is helping you, you can see it's helping other people, and they try and nail down what is your purpose in life, right? What is your reason for living? What gets you up in the morning? What do you want to do? Why are you here? And ultimately, people who work for Scientology in the Sea Org or staff members, their purpose is usually to help people, right? To help other people, to help mankind, which is quite a grandiose task. But Scientology becomes the way that they do that. So, in order to help people, Scientology is the best way of doing that. And so, therefore, everything you do in Scientology is driving that. So when we talked about money earlier, and the idea of Scientology wanting to get your money, it's not because they want to rip you off and financially benefit from you being in Scientology. It's because having money in Scientology allows them to continue their job and reach more people and be more effective at helping people through Scientology. And yes, Dave Miscavige has some perks and all of this, but it's not like you say, Keith Raniere, where someone's sitting at the top pocketing all of the money and buying private jets. All of the money, there are some dodgy things going on, but the idea is that it goes back into progressing Scientology, because they genuinely believe, for the most part, that Scientology is the most effective and best way of helping the planet out of this horrible situation that we're in. Would you kind of agree with that, Doug?
Yeah, and not only that, people would often ask, if this is the question that I hear the most: if spiritual freedom, if you guys offer that and it's so good, why don't you offer it for free? L. Ron Hubbard had a policy that would answer every question you would ever have. Just like you said, Alex, when you kind of were investigating, you weren't even going to become a Scientologist necessarily. They could quell the questions that you had. They could give you the right answer. They knew what referenced in their head to say to you. They would answer that. So there was a policy that Hubbard had, which is very sensible to me. We have to make money, because how in the hell are we going to expand? How are we going to pay for these buildings? How are we going to train the auditors? It's such a sensible explanation when you're in the cult. And yet people from the outside would always say, I don't understand why it's not free. I mean, I do kind of believe that enlightenment is within us, and it's not to get too deep, but it is already free, and we can access it without any gurus, cults, or paying anybody a dime. But before I knew that, I believed in Scientology. It was specifically this auditing, which I talk about a lot, that I experienced as a kid that I never felt before. I break it down as hypnotism, but man, if you've never been in that kind of state of mind as a 10-year-old, I was sold on everything else that then followed on the policy letters, because I believed in that and what happened to me in the training routines. And I wanted to be an actor so I could communicate to people. I could look people in the eye. A lot of the communication course is like acting drills. So it's already right up my alley. Once I got at the taste of the hypnosis, I was sold. So every other explanation, such as, yeah, we have to make money, spirituality can't be free, it all made freaking sense to me, dude.
And they also use that in a way to justify the sheer cost of going up the bridge and reaching
Yeah.
OT8, because one comparison we used to use in London org was it's cheaper than therapy. And not only is it spiritual counseling, like it's helping you not just in your mind, but helping you on a spiritual level, which therapy doesn't do. So actually, the cost of auditing, yes, it might be a large amount of money, but for what you're getting in return is, actually it's undervalued, because
Yes.
you are getting spiritual enlightenment,
Yeah.
freedom, you are becoming at cause, you are being in complete control of your environment and unleashing this spiritual power that you didn't even realize you had. So actually, when you get to OT8 and you've spent $500,000 or $1 million or whatever, what you get on it on a lifetime, considering the belief is you're a spiritual being that lives forever, it's nothing. So
Yeah.
they use that as a justification of why the money is needed, and the money is supposedly goes back into expanding and helping more people with it. So that's always one of the things they fall back on when they're trying to recruit you or get you to pay for things is, well, actually put it into perspective, this is worth 10 times the amount you're paying. So you just got to make it work. One thing you mentioned there earlier about the
Yeah.
wins that you got getting into Scientology, obviously our roots were different coming into Scientology. You kind of grew up in it, and
Hmm.
I joined Scientology as a teenager, and I wanted to just put this into perspective a little bit as well, of when we're talking about how they indoctrinate you and recruit you and manipulate you and give you all of this purpose and love bombing and telling you we can help you communicate better and achieve your goals. I was like 14 or 15 when I first joined Scientology. And I know I talk about it, but I found a picture the other day of me on one of, I think it was my first day on staff or something.
Let's see
And
it.
I think this kind of hits home a bit of like how impressionable your mind is, and how at this age you are genuinely trying to find yourself, and this organization comes in and says, well,
Yeah.
we have all the answers. So this is
Wow.
me
Look at that.
on one of my, I think it's my first day or first week on staff. That's the old Scientology staff uniform. But
Wow.
that was me when I joined Scientology. And I think that just highlights, you know, how easy it is to get into someone's head when you're that age,
How
right?
old are you there, Alex?
So I would have been 15, 15 around then.
15. Wow.
And then this
Wow.
is a picture of when I was director of public book sales, which was
Wow.
kind of, this was taken in my last year on staff. So I would have been about 19 in this picture. But I think just this really puts it into perspective of like, this is how they get you. Even if you grew up in Scientology, you go through this stage of growing up and finding yourself. And Scientology, at this point in your life, when you're growing up and developing mentally, you are so impressionable. And it is a lot easier than if you and I were to join now as adults with life experience behind us, right?
Yeah. I can't, like you said, you're super impressionable. You're young. They give you a star high purpose like this. I'm sure you've never heard anything quite as heady as Scientology like I didn't as a kid. So it's just looking at this, man. It's so, I'll never get tired of saying this to you, Alex. Congratulations on you and everybody else that actually got out, because it's really hard to do. And I sometimes feel like you have to get lucky or something, because you could easily still be in there if they would have. I mean, they did everything they could to kind of push you away, because you were sold on it. And once they have your young mind, what do they say about capturing the young minds and shit? That's why I
Mm-hmm.
brainwash our kids in school and shit, because you have them for life, basically. So it's good that you got out, man.
100%. And I think as much as I hated it at the time, being kicked out,
Yeah.
if I
Yeah.
hadn't have been kicked out, I fully believe I would have very much still been in today. You know, I signed my SEAL contract. I was on a
Wow.
plan to move over to Flag, and signing
Wow.
your SEAL contract, we talked a lot about it last week, but it's not just dedicating this life, it's all future
Yeah.
lives to this cause. And in order for someone to be in the headspace where they do that,
Hmm.
you know, you have to fully believe that this is the right thing to do. You wouldn't just sign your life away and all future lives if you were unsure or had doubts or questions in your mind. um, and I think today's video we're going to talk about that process of how you get from joining to that headspace, right?
Yeah. Sure.
um, I think the love bombing is a good place to start, right? And what was your experience, Doug, with you wanting to be an actor and growing up in Scientology? Because there's different stages, you know, you're introductory level, you're public, and then you staff and Sea Org, you know. So how did they get you from being someone that's growing up and you've got these ambitions to be an actor to the first step of paying money and doing Scientology courses as a paying public?
It's a great question. I hope I don't ramble, because there's many different elements to that. I mean, we could pick the TRs where, okay, like literally popping out of the, well, not popping out of the womb, but around 12 years old, I saw this movie called Stand By Me that has this actor in it named River Phoenix, who also was born in a cult called the Children of God with Joaquin Phoenix and the rest of his family. They escaped and whatever. It's really weird about that too, Alex, because even though my dad had been in the cult for a few years at this point, Scientology, and I remember we saw this in the Thousand Oaks, California movie theater, and it's just like it was yesterday, because I had a cognition, as they say in Scientology, I had a realization. I was like, "That's what I'm going to do." That's what I want to do. So I was already primed and pumped for Scientology. They happened to be the perfect cult to come into my life because, as I said, the communication course was drilled towards actors. We read out of Alice in Wonderland, try to take on different tone levels and shit. Everything about it was appealing on that level. What wasn't appealing is that I just knew something was wrong with it. It was, Scientology is basically trauma-based mind control when you break it down. So it's not fun to do the auditing. It's not fun to stare at someone for 2 hours on end. I didn't like any of these things. What I personally liked was
From the
the
very
high.
beginning, you had a sense that there was something not quite right
Oh, I'll
about
tell
it.
you why. I'll tell you why. It felt like I describe it as evil entering through my dad. Not that my dad's evil. And I'm not talking about possession necessarily or anything like that. I'm just talking about he changed in such a way that it was like something else took over my dad, or I describe it as my dad's personality. He kind of was a drinker. I wouldn't say an alcoholic, but he definitely replaced Scientology with that kind of drunk anger. He never laid a hand on me, but he didn't have to, because he just scared the shit out of me with the kind of mood swings. Drink a little bit when you get back from work or whatever. And he was always kind of distant. So that right there, by the way, is a setup for someone falling into a cult, because I wasn't getting what I needed. Although I had a good family. Like I said, I'm torn. I say the negative about my family, but they were also extremely positive in many ways too. They really did take care of me. And I believe that they did the best that they could. But the reason I called it evil is because I saw the change in my dad. He had this hypnotized look. He had the 1,000-yard stare, like people have when they come back from the military and they've been traumatized. And he was already talking differently. He had been down there all day, I found out later. And he started the communication course, and he would have been sold some auditing, probably the life repair package and some other stuff. So he came home. He was totally different, blank look, talking different. And he immediately asked my mother, I need to borrow $10,000 from my brother, because we didn't have a lot of money, to start this thing called Scientology. So I ask you, Alice, if that happened in your family, you would obviously suss that something's wrong right out of the gate. What the hell did my dad get involved in? So they would argue about Scientology for weeks on end. I didn't know what it was. I just kept hearing the word Scientology. I knew nothing about it. That's why I felt like it was evil. And then when I finally went down there, the first thing I noticed about these people, and some other interviewer brought this up where it really clicked. They were weird. They were damaged. Something was wrong with these people. The length of time that they had been in, the trauma that they endured, it showed on their face, it showed on their body, it showed in their mannerisms. There was definitely something off about these people. Exactly like when you see in a movie and you go into some creepy cult and the people are all different. I noticed that right away. And then when I'm, in and around it for a while, I take the communication course for a few weeks or whatever, because my parents, manipulate me to go down there. And I didn't know what I'm getting involved in, and I trust them. So yeah, mom, I'll give it a freaking shot. Okay, fine. I learned how to rebel against that later on. But the first thing, every one of these people was just freaking strange. I forgot the point I was going to make, but yeah. Oh, okay. So after being down there a couple of weeks, the Sea Org members, these people in these really intimidating uniforms, would come down. Now, we had a top mission in Ventura at the time, and I don't know why the Sea Org members were coming down there necessarily, but they always had rank when they would, and they would try to pick people, either public like me or staff members, to get them to join the Sea Org. And just seeing them, I would talk shit about them, or I thought they were funny or whatever, and I quickly learned, because I'd go into ethics. I could never talk down to these people. So I had to learn how to suppress my laughter and actually treat these people serious. And then when I got into it, they not only became not funny, I looked up to them and I thought they were the shit, and they were very intimidating. So that was my first couple weeks, man. These freaky Sea Org people, my dad's talking differently, my parents are arguing about it. And then also just the drills themselves. Well, why do I have to sit here, mom, with my eyes closed? I'm going crazy. What do I have to read out of Alice in Wonderland? I didn't realize that those are age regression techniques. And like I said, they're putting you basically in a light trance state. Without any of that knowledge, the whole goddamn thing seemed weird, which, by the way, Alex, is really weird that I then was a complete Manchurian candidate. No one was going to take that belief system away from me. And it's a miracle that I got in and then I got out.
And they couple, even though you have reservations and you think it feels a bit weird or a bit strange, you kind of have the idea of everyone here has got this mission, they're all saying it works and they're all happy, and you kind of think, well, you know, we're not talking about something light-hearted here. This is my spiritual salvation. So of course there's going to be parts that feel a bit uncomfortable and a bit weird, because it's not an easy task to take on your spiritual freedom. So you kind of get not pushed, but encouraged to kind of overlook those bits and kind of think, well, let's just push through it, and let's just try the next bit, and I'll see a benefit. And then they couple
Great
that
point.
with love bombing is such a commonly used tactic in Scientology of, your goal was to become an actor, right? And they would use that to um, get you to do more Scientology. What are the sort of things they would say to you? It would help with your communication skills and that sort of thing.
Yes, before I answer that, can I say something real quick that you just
Mm,
triggered off, which is a great point? So, despite all that, exactly what you said, I figured my dad must know what he's talking about, so it's probably me. And then also, when they introduced me to the ethics conditions, I knew I was out ethics. So there was this weird dichotomy of sussing that it's weird, but at the same time, I did half believe in it because of my dad. And like you said, there's this group. They're weird, but they had power too. You know what I mean, Alex? Like that a static state of mind that they were always in, that over happiness, that Stepford wives, that had an effect on me in a positive way too. It was basically both things happening at the same time, which I think created cognitive dissonance, which actually just confused me into the cult. Because if I would have been able to keep my critical thinking alive long enough, I think I would have been able to resist it and seen through even my dad, maybe he doesn't know best or whatever.
mm.
But yeah, I just want to
And
say that's really interesting what you said there because it wasn't
yeah, and
all just
and that
weird.
that reminds me of my journey in as well, because there was never a point in Scientology where I had this huge major win where I did a course or something and it changed my life. It
Mhm.
was more practical tools, little things you can try, techniques, and they kind of, they worked, and there was some positive benefits. And but the ultimate thing is, nothing, there was nothing bad, right? I wasn't
Yeah.
negatively being influenced by it, and it all kind of made sense in your head, and you're like, well, I can see how that can be true, I can see how that works. um and you kind of think, well, no harm done, because I've done a course, and why not try another one, because I wasn't harmed by this other one, and I wasn't, coerced into anything like everyone says in the press and the media. And, I did the course, and it was all right. And why not try the next one? But you're encouraged by this community of everyone in the building is united, because all the staff members have obviously signed up 2.5 or 5 years and the sealed their whole life. So they're already sold on it and believe that what they're doing is the best thing you could do in humankind. Um, so you're surrounded by these people who are so like infused and determined
Yeah.
to make this thing work and grow, and it encourages you to think, well, maybe there's something, that they've got from it that I haven't got yet,
Yeah.
and so I'll carry on until maybe one day I'll get there. um and just being in that environment encourages you to do more, because you think, well, even though I
Yes.
haven't got a major win just yet, I haven't been negatively affected, so what's the harm in doing the
Yeah.
next course or doing another session or whatever.
Yeah. And that's another great point, man. Regards what you say about, the acting thing, here's how that kind of went down. Because so I wanted to be an actor when I saw River Phoenix that day at 12, but my parents didn't discourage it. My mom would go to all my speech tournaments in junior high, signed up for their acting thing. And it's another story that I talk about on the series or whatever. So I'm not going to waste time talking about that. But that faded away. And so I was a musician. That's what I was going to do. I played guitar in a death metal band. And I was like, that's what I'm going to do, man. And then my friends were starting to get married. This is after I'm out of high school. All my friends, band friends, I'm like, come on, guys. I don't have a backup plan. This is what I want to do. Let's try to get a record contract or whatever. And they were not nearly as hardcore as me. I've always been that way, Alex. I'm single-minded and I'll stay on it forever. It took me about 9 years or so to break into acting, but I was never going to give up. And it took me forever to get to OT3, but I was always going to make it, but I can only do one thing at a time. So my focus at that time, I'm going to make it as a musician. And then here's how that kind of went down. So I was taking community college, I was working, and then I stopped doing that because I didn't know what the hell I was doing at school. I formed my own landscape company, and then I hit a transitional phase that I talk about on the channel with the weed, where I was like, oh my God, I got caught, and now I'm going to go into Scientology. Because by that point, I had enough indoctrination and I felt that it was me now that was out ethics. Scientology really is right, because I had done plenty of courses, and particularly those ethics conditions I couldn't argue with. And I didn't know this was a psychopath talking. So it's one thing to go back and read the references now and see the narcissism spewed throughout and why it's all about control and everything. But not knowing anything about that, this idea of him being so controlling seemed confident to me. Those bulletins were very powerful and had a massive impact on me because I thought he was the most ethical man on the planet. And the way those policies read, it definitely sounds like that. I had no idea he was two-faced and he was lying. He's an incredible liar, pen to paper. So anyways, when I finally got into it, it was about getting the stats up in my landscape company. So I can have as much time as possible to do the musician thing and work on that. So I love the targets and goals. I love the conditions. I love that I could map my life out exactly right. I don't do that anymore, man. I go with the flow and I don't really think that way at all. But that took a long time to stop thinking with the tone scale. How am I going to map out my day? It actually drove me crazy and it took me off my intuition. So even though it's a left brain brainiac, you can map your life out, it really shut my intuition and my natural flow down, which is also important, I believe, too, to listen to that side. But man, Alex, that computerized way of living your life where you just got to follow each step. You'll be totally free at OT8. If you do these exact conditions, you can guarantee you'll get this exact result. That black and white thinking, those guaranteed results were super attractive. And a lot of that was placebo effect to me. So I would make things happen and it would seem to validate the tech. I realize now that, one of the things he says is the only reason someone ever gets sick, that would be the sniffles, you go down, you have the holiday flu, is because you're connected to a suppressive person. The only reason, right? So it was grand statements like that where I felt like I could have certainty and know exactly, like a computer program, so I'm guaranteed to win. So whatever I chose, I'm guaranteed to get the stats up in the landscaping. I'm guaranteed to win with the girlfriend. I can make the second dynamic work exactly like a computer program. That was super attractive when I crossed over. And then to get to the acting thing, here's where I wouldn't take back my Scientology experience. One, because I can't. Two, I learned a lot by being under mind control and getting out. And three, the experience itself had things to offer. The camaraderie, I did learn things and everything. By the way, if you can you hear stuff going on in the background?
Yeah, just about, but it's not.
Okay. I just wanted to let you know there's construction going on at the apartment right now. Plus there's a massive ambulance going on. So if it gets noisy, I'll try to mute myself. No Anyways, worries. Another thing, Alex, is I got my purpose re-stimulated, or what they call it in Scientology, re-stimulating like a failed purpose, in grade 4 on a session. So I was just going about my life. I was going to get married with this girl. I had the landscape company. Everything was set up. I had a nice integrated family, and I was a frickin' Scientologist, and I was on grade 4. I loved the people at the mission. They were my best mates. I definitely felt like I was creeping away from, the outside world. I was still in and around it. I wasn't on staff like, you guys were, but I definitely had my Scientology world and friends versus the world that I had to hide that from all my normal friends. So in grade 4, it just came up where I said to my auditor, Wayne, I said, because you run things or whatever, and you can kind of have cognite or realize whatever you want to in that altered state of consciousness. When you're going down the track, you're in past lives, you're just being asked to spot a spot in space, right? So one of these exercises on grade 4, I said to Wayne, I just had a rekindled purpose. I remember when I saw River Phoenix in a theater, and that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to and then I would just ramble for the next few sessions, eating up hour after hour after hour over the next week or so about this. And so I told my girlfriend, we were kind of that's a long story, but let's just say I broke up with her. That's not the whole thing. I sold the landscape company and I got my first extra job on basketball within a month of that cognition in grade 4. I do believe that Scientology taps into the subconscious, and the subconscious mind is a real thing. And I do believe there's data you can get in there. The trick with Scientology is that you're implanting suggestions. It's done in a way where you're absolutely manipulating the mind according to Hubbard's diktats. And it's not like sitting home on your couch going into a trance. I don't do that either, but I'm just saying it's very different between meditating on your own, let's say, and being in an environment where the suggestions are going in that vulnerable state. So I do believe that was the kind of, I had several of those kind of quote unquote wins where minus Scientology. Who's to say that that ever would have crossed my mind? And also, they gave me the confidence now because wait a minute, John Travolta's in it, Tom Cruise, my family's in it.
Mm.
Alex, I never would have had the confidence to move to LA, even though it was an hour away, if I didn't have Scientology. So it
Yeah.
absolutely got me out of my hometown. There's,
Yeah, and
you
that
know,
that certainty, if you think about you're in a place in your life where you're doing your own thing, you're doing landscaping or you're doing acting, Scientology aren't coming along and saying, well, you're doing the wrong thing, you need to do Scientology. They're saying, well, Scientology will help you achieve what you want to achieve in life. And if it's acting or landscaping or whatever, Scientology will just help you improve your skills in that area. It will make you better at whatever it is that you want to do in your life. That's the first step of this purpose and change of mindset. They get you in to begin with by saying, well, whatever it is you want to do, Scientology will help you be better at that or do better. And that certainty you talk about is so important because, as you said, LRH policy is if it's done correctly 100% of the time, it will work 100% of the time. So when things don't work or things don't work out well or it doesn't have the desired effect, you think, well, it's not been done right or something's gone wrong or I've done something wrong because your doubt is gone in your mind because they're like, well, this is the solution to that problem. And that certainty, like you say, gives you confidence because if you, whatever it is you want to do, if you have something in the back of your mind going, well, look, it might not be working right now, or I might not have had a major win, but I'm doing something about it, and this is going to help me. It gives you the confidence to then actually go and do something different or approach the situation in a different way, even though you might not be applying Scientology, but you have the confidence that you are proactively doing something to make yourself better as an actor. So maybe that confidence comes across and helps you get another job because you just feel like you're not just sitting there idle, letting your life drift away. You are proactively taking steps to improve your situation, and that in itself has a positive impact on your life as it would with anything.
definitely, and that's why I think that a lot of that is simply placebo effect. They definitely instill confidence, and I do think it helped in the audition rooms, and I believed in myself, but I don't wanna encourage people to join a cult because they can get that placebo effect just by self-hypnotizing themselves or just believing in yourself. You definitely
Mm,
don't have to take all the snags. That's what makes Scientology so dangerous is that it seems so sensible when you're in it. Even, you were talking at the beginning of this interview and I almost felt like, shit, man, I'll sign up, Alex. Let's go for it again. Like it's really, you're just reminding me of how it's even to this day, brother. I can't believe it is what it is because it seems so true and it seems so effective.
mm,
And this man just created this really clever trap. There
mm,
must be something else like it, but it's so hard to explain to people how I can go right back into Scientology mode immediately, but I haven't lived in that space forever. And whenever I do, I just remember exactly, it's impossible to explain how
mm.
unbelievably real and it really is.
And maybe we can in a minute we'll get into that and maybe try and with a bit of role play show people what that looks like.
Sure.
But to give a bit of context, I think the first step, like we say, is saying using Scientology to help you and improve what it is you want to do. That gets you invested to do the courses and continue studying Scientology. And then over time, the goal is to get more money from you and get you to do more courses because they genuinely think the courses will help you and they genuinely want to help you. And then quite often that shifts to trying to get you to join staff because whatever your purpose is in life, they will get you. Like for me, they would get me in a room and talking to them and go, well, look, you believe Scientology helps people, right? And you go, yeah, well, yeah, I've seen it help people. It's helped you, right? Yeah, right. Well, do you want to help people? Well, yeah, okay. Well, therefore it makes logical sense to join staff because staff, are delivering Scientology, which is helping people. So therefore this is what you should do. And suddenly it shifted from telling you that this will help you with your purpose in life to, well, if you genuinely think it helps people and you want to help people, it makes logical sense to join staff. And suddenly the same love bombing and filling you with confidence and giving you false promises shifts their goal and actually changes your purpose from being an actor to joining staff, or the Sea Org is the next level up from that. But it's done very incrementally. It's not a one big whack, cool, this is your first course in Scientology, join the Sea Org. It's like, well, it's step by step. And that's what I wanted to get across in this video.
Exactly. In fact, you're reminding me of all those times when I was trying to be an actor. I had moved to LA and they would take me a top celebrity center and have me overlook Los Angeles. These would be Sea Org members. And this happened many, many times where they said exactly what you just said. Doug, you're getting old. You're in your 30s now. You haven't made it. You're not Tom Cruise. When are you going to give this up and serve the real purpose? And they would say whatever they needed to, Alexander. Like one time they said, inside tip, we don't really look up to Tom Cruise. He's just an actor anyways. We're fucking saving the planet. This is where the shit really goes down, And also they had a gal named Alexandra Powers, who I talk about in one of the videos, where she was an actress that I really looked up to. And she was the kindest, sweetest person. And she gave up her career that was just going to explode to be a Sea Org member. And she's the one that sold me a course called The Route to Infinity, where she'd get people to go to the free ones. So, and then Michael Roberts too, he was not a Sea Org member. It would be almost work like a Sea Org member. And so I was trying to justify, even because I would tell them what I'm going to do. And this is what every Scientologist says is trying to be an actor. I'm going to make it in the industry, and then I'm going to have the clout to promote Scientology. So just get the fuck out of my way and let me do that. That's not, you think that would work, right, guys? That's not good enough. The goal really is, unless you're absolutely loaded, and even then, if you have money, they'll try to get the kids and, the rich parents on. It's all about getting you onto that Sea Org. I don't even know why that is, because it's like sometimes they seem to press, sometimes they should keep public members so they give them the money. They probably would have squeezed more money out of me by having me be a public than join staff like they wanted me to, right?
But it comes from a good. I genuinely believe
you're right.
It comes
You're
from
right.
a good place.
You're right,
and
dude.
The reason they want you to either part with all your cash as a paying public or join the Sea Org is because they genuinely think that this is the best way of helping humankind. And so by getting you on the Sea Org, into the Sea Org or on staff, that's actually getting you to help more people. And it's not because of any other reason other than they believe that by you joining the Sea Org, you're going to be helping the planet in a way that you can't do in any other way. I think this is a good opportunity to do this role play thing, right? Because we've been talking about it a lot. So for people in the chat, right, what we're going to do is try and demonstrate the process of how Scientology handle objections, right? Because in this context, right, Doug is going to pretend to be where he was as an actor, a public Scientologist, and my goal is in this role play is to recruit him onto staff, right? And we're going to shorten it, and it's going to seem a bit more intense than what it will actually be in real life. But just to give you a taste of how, whatever excuse you give, there is always a solution, because in Scientology, it's not gray area ambiguity, it's black or white, and if there's a problem, we fix it, we're at cause. So if we start off by, so you've come into the room and you're sat there and we've had a conversation, you've kind of agreed verbally that joining staff kind of interests you. So what it would start off with me perhaps going, well, what is it that's, you've agreed you want to join staff, what is it that is stopping you joining staff tomorrow? Like, what do we need to handle to get you to arrive on staff?
Well, Alex, I'm not sure I even want to join staff because, I am trying to make it as an actor. And I feel like if I love what you guys do, I look up to what you do. But I feel like if I sign this contract, I'm going to be giving up on my purpose and my soul's going to die. That's the only reason. So, and also I figure if I make it as an actor, I can help promote Scientology in a way that fits my purpose and my goals and will benefit all of us, right? What's wrong with that?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. So if you are fully determined in your purpose as an actor and you agree that you're gonna make it, right? What's the rush to do that now? Like, why not just come and do a 2.5-year staff contract, come and help out for a bit, and then once that's over, pick up your acting and carry on
I
from there?
can't though, man, because I'm in my early 20s, dude. And it's like I only have until a certain limited time to make it. If I don't get in before my 30s, I'm screwed. So if I take off 2.5 years to do this, I'm actually setting myself behind and lessening the chance and likelihood of making it, and therefore disseminating Scientology on the world stage.
So do you think joining staff would be taking time off? Do you not think that staff members help people? Do
Of
you not
course
think
they
this
do.
is
I'm not
Mm.
Of course they do. Like I told you, I look up to you guys all the time, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel guilt in the auditing sessions and stuff, for not joining staff. I just know that I'm going to die inside if I, give this up. I tried joining staff for a couple weeks at the Ventura mission, and I thought I was going to lose my mind. Not because you guys aren't helping. Of course you are. This is the group, that I'm believe in. And I also can't get over this guilt because guys like you keep hitting me up, all the time. It's like I'm never left alone. It's like I'm always getting pressure to do this. And it's like all I can do to fend it off because I can't always come up with a good retort. But it's my purpose, right? You guys teach us you have to follow your heart and your purpose, right? And that's just not my purpose to join staff right now.
Right, but think about it this way, right? It's not joining staff and, you know, putting Scientology out there is not an easy thing. It's not for everyone, right?
Yeah.
And if people keep asking you to join staff and are encouraging you to do that, do you not think that that's because we see something in you that you have the ability that not everyone has to be able to help
Oh,
in an
stop.
effective
You
way?
say that to all the people.
No, but how many people have you seen walk past the org and shout stupid things at us, or the black PR you see on the internet that's saying horrible things about
I know those
Scientology,
damn SPs.
right? They're not going to change the planet, right? It's not an easy thing.
I
And
understand, man.
you are a spiritual being, you have immortal millions of lifetimes ahead of you. And who's to say that how many lifetimes is going to be before you come across Scientology again? If Scientology has helped you and you believe that Scientology is going to help other people, this is kind of like a one shot. Like, why not? I mean, I'm not asking you to join the Sea Org and sign your life away. It's just 2.5 years. You're going to help a bunch of people, and at the end of it, if you decide actually that was fun, I've helped some people, and now I want to go and do my acting thing, why not? There's no harm. It's only 2.5 years in the timeline of your spiritual immortal life. I think it's worth a shot at trying, don't you?
That's a really good sell. Can I just say one thing on that though? I've seen the people at the mission, at the Ventura mission, and they I'm not sure I could honestly take the hours in the schedule, Alex. I'm just not freaking built for it, man. I'm kind of like lazy unless I'm like into it. So I'm not sure that's a life for me, man. I want to help out. I really do. And like I told you, I feel guilty and a piece of shit for just being a public, but I'm not sure I want to go through what I've seen them go through just with being screamed at by, Vicky and freaking, they have to work basically 24/7. They don't get time off of their family. And then I know if I want to, go see my family, I have to CSW. My stats have to be up. I've seen enough about what goes on behind the scene where I'm a little bit
Well,
intimidated by that.
think about it this way, these I'm not going to sit here and handle every single case that we're talking about here. I wasn't there, but a lot of those things are in when you're in the SEAL, you dedicate your whole life to it, right? Joining
Yeah.
staff is, Monday to Friday, 9 till 6. It's like a normal job, right? If you were instead to go and do your acting thing, would you not want to dedicate the same amount of time to that, right? There's no difference between how much time you're giving towards it. If that's your issue, you can't dedicate. Well, we're talking about Monday to Friday, 9 to 6 here.
What would I get out of it though?
Well, do you agree that Scientology helps people?
Of course I do.
And has it helped you?
Of course it has. I know
So
that. Yes.
why wouldn't you want other people to feel the same effect that you have felt?
I
And being on
do, but is
staff is the
staff the
most
only way to do
effective way.
that? The most
Well,
effective?
being on staff is the most effective way to help people because you are disseminating Scientology And look, you want to be an actor, right? And you're creative, so we'll put you in a creative role, right? There's the
At
org
gold
board
base.
right behind me. There's hundreds of roles here. You know, it's not like we're going to stick you in some sales role when you don't want to do that. We're going to put you in. We'll find a post for you where you can be creative, but at the same time,
It's not the
every
same
single
though,
day you're
brother.
helping people.
See, this is why they couldn't get me, Alex, because thank God I had the acting thing because it was the one thing that they could never take from me. And when they did take it from me, they had to put a hot chick in the mission. They had to basically hypnotize me till I freaking went into a dream state and signed the contract. And they had to take my food away and sleep deprive me. This is why they could never get me. But I would go home sometimes crying from those
Yeah,
things at Celebrity Center after they just crushed me. Because they,
this is the
Alex, they
thing.
would lay in way worse too, man. They would say,
Yeah,
listen, you piece of shit. You're freaking 30 years old. You're not fucking Tom Cruise. You're not going to make it. Stop being a public pansy pussy and sign the contract and do what we do.
hmm
Alexander is not a pussy and she's a girl. You're not. This is kind of how it would go down, dude, because
yeah,
they would just handle me accordingly because they knew they couldn't get me with soft ham
yeah.
tactics. So
They
they'd have me going home crying, dude, going
they
shit.
they
I
guilt
I I think I need to absolutely they guilt
this.
trip you, dude.
Yeah, this was just a taster of
That
like
was
the
really
first.
nice. I probably would sign that if you were that nice. I mean, that was a really good presentation, but
But also, it was so weird to do that because obviously I
it
haven't had a
was, dude. It
conversation
it,
as
it
like
brought me back
forceful and
immediately.
manipulative and persuasive.
I know.
I haven't tapped into that for years, and it's
Good
kind of
because it's
scary how
scary.
easy it was. But it did for a minute there. I was like straight back into it of like, you know, this is how it. I didn't need to think about it. It just happened naturally because I was in that like mindset. Um, just before we carry on, care
Yeah.
for
I
JC
don't even think
YT
you guys
Alex. You're
saw
so
it.
scary good at this.
He's got to
Thank
warm
you.
up, man. Like he said, he's hasn't been in since he's a teenager, but that was just a
Mm.
preview of what he could do to
And
people.
and
Were
the
you that nice, by the way? Because that really was effective.
well, yeah, to begin
You
with, yeah,
probably could have.
because your first conversation of trying to get someone on staff or to buy the book or whatever it is you're trying to do is if you go forceful at the beginning, you're just going to scare them off,
Of
right? And
course.
I remember this
Yeah.
conversation gets amplified once, you know, notice that first of all, I just whatever objection Doug gave me, it wasn't a okay, all right, well, let's think about that and see if we can figure it out. It was an instant, well, this is the solution. That's not a problem. We can fix that, just overcome it. And basically, once Doug signs his contract and is on the staff and he's doing it for many years, and then they want to try and get him into the SEAL. This is the position I was in when they were recruiting me. That's when they really hammer it home and they go, well, look, you're already on staff, so you're already helping people, and you think this is helping people. Great. So why wouldn't you fucking dedicate your whole life to it? Because, you know, if you don't do that, then you're just an asshole, right? Because what you're doing is you're preventing, you know, yourself from helping more people. Like, why wouldn't you want to help as many people as you possibly can? And you're a dick if you don't want to help people, right? That's how they really hammer it home. Um, and it just gets more and more intense. And it happens over time. You know, it's not just one conversation, you sign the contract and come, but it goes right through like the big purpose sort of stuff like that, right down to like really nitty gritty, like, well, what do you need to handle to, you know, start staff tomorrow? Oh, well, you know, I don't have a job, so I don't have enough money. It's like, okay, well, let's figure out. And they'll sit down and do a financial plan with you, and
Yeah.
you'll figure out, okay, well, what job can you get that you can do that can earn you enough money to be on staff, and like figure out a plan to
Yep.
handle it. And when you've done that, and you go, right, I've got enough money now. But you know, I need to arrange childcare. Okay, right. Well, let's figure that out. And like they will go through it with you until you
Yeah.
have no more objections left and
Yep.
you have no reason why
It's
you can't
absolutely true.
join staff.
Yep, and they're trained to do that. They're trained to handle objections. They're like a great salesman. Tomorrow, I'm going to do an interview with tr- um, Marcus, who was responsible for getting a lot of money out of my parents and doing what's called hard sell. And it was exactly that. It was to handle any objections they have. And man, they know how to do that. It's just basic hardcore Les Danes salesman tactics, which is
Yeah.
care for the person in front of you so much. Like another thing to drive home, Alex, is
Just to shout out
we.
quickly,
Oh,
Linda,
sure.
thank you for the super chat, showing some love for
Thank you,
great
Linda.
content, Alex and Doug. Thank you, Linda. Appreciate that. Carry on, Doug.
What the hell was I just saying?
You were talking about the love bombing and the guilt trips and
I completely
Marcus.
lost my train of thought. Linda cut my comm, and we're going to
Sorry, Mark.
definitely
You're
be
talking about
throwing our ethics
Marcus
on the
and
Discord. Oh,
and
just at the base that they can sell ice to an Eskimo because
yeah. Oh yeah, this hard
they
sell. Yeah.
the hard sell pack. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
there is like a whole patter, and maybe this is another video we can do of like I did a little bit of a video about this in terms of book selling and the L. Ron Hubbard policy and techniques that's used to sell books, but it literally says in the policy that you need to invade someone's privacy to
exactly.
sell them the book,
That's
because
right.
the whole point is
That's
like,
right.
well, you if you want to change this person's life, you're going to need to get them to tell you what's wrong with them, because how are you going to change their life
Great
if they
point.
can't tell you what's wrong with them? So you have to invade their privacy, and
Great
it's
point.
justified, because
Exactly.
yeah, it sucks that you're doing that, but you're doing it because you're trying to help this person, and it's the greatest good for the greatest number of dynamics, and that's what justifies the hard sell and the calling you a dick and saying why wouldn't you do this, and the guilt trip, because ultimately you, the person trying to convince the other person, think that this is the best thing you can do, and so it justifies it insulting this
Exactly.
person, making them feel rubbish, making them feel bad for not doing it, because ultimately that you're trying to get them to help themselves and help the planet, not just Joe Blow down the street, help every human on this earth in this united mission to save the world, you know?
That's kind of what I was going to say, man, what you just talked about. Once you believe in the reactive mind, that all human beings have reactive minds and that the state of clear exists. By the way, there's not a single clear or single OT that's ever been made by Scientology per their definitions. But I didn't know that. So once you believe in the reactive mind, everything's justified. Well, that's just your reactive mind. What a great scam. It's this invisible thing that you can't see that's talking to you. And one for one, that's the problem that we all have. It doesn't matter if you're a piece of shit, high intelligence, low intelligence. The one thing that Hubbard said we all have in common is our reactive mind. These are what he called held down sevens. These are things that give us wrong answers. And if we can just get the mind to think like a computer correctly, then we'll give the right answers in life. It's actually really logical the way he presents it, even though the actual theory is kind of gibberish, with Dianetics and stuff.
Yeah.
So once you believe in that, you just reminded me of the breaking the boundaries. Like Hubbard was a narcissist. So I just see the whole thing from the perspective of a narcissist where I can break this person's boundaries. It's all justified for the greater good. The same phrases that you would hear from like a sociopath. So not understanding that, it made so much sense. Like, yeah, I'm going to invade this person's. He has a reactive mind, dude. How are we going to overcome that? He says you have to apply more pressure to that person and that reactive mind than that reactive mind can exert back. So once you fall for the whole philosophy, which he lays out in fine detail, it's really hard to not feel bad about just you can justify anything, the greatest good for the greatest number of dynamics. By the way, that's an
Yeah.
Orwellian phrase to look out for, by the way, guys, which kind of came to the fore recently. Anytime you hear the phrase it's for the greater good, watch out,
Yeah.
because that's a phrase that a sociopath will say to justify anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that just what you said about the boundary breakdown, and that was
Mm,
what gave them the confidence, and that was kind of shocking too. Like they were willing to break boundaries that normal humans would apply. So that
mm.
in itself can have an impact on you about the certainty and the power of the Scientologists. It's another thing I noticed with them.
Yeah, 100%. Another super chat from the man himself, LRH, says a tin of beans for each of you from Aldi, though. Thank
He
you.
has the funniest fucking comments, dude.
This guy cracks me up
You are
every
so
time.
funny, by the way, man.
Yeah, keep it
He's
up.
just
Like
great one-liners, dude.
I've not seen
Like
a single comment from this guy on any video
that's
that hasn't
not
had me in
hilarious.
hysterics.
Me
Yeah.
neither. And it's always just a
Whoever
quick one-liner, dude.
Yeah, whoever's behind it is obviously someone that knows Scientology in and out, that was on staff or something, because the stuff he comes up with is so like on point and perfectly encapsulates
Yes.
LRH's way
I
of
would
thinking.
never
And
share a story or personal information when someone emails me, but I do know a little bit about him. And he was not a Scientologist, but he
he
knows quite
knows
a
his
bit about it.
shit
He's a
though.
very good man.
Yeah.
Oh, he's
Yeah.
dude, you are so funny, LRH.
So talking about this purpose and greater good for greatest number of dynamics, we
Mhm.
gave a bit of a taster here of how you get someone to join staff, and then mentioned that it amplifies when you get to the Sea Org. It also occurs when you're a public Scientologist that is paying to go up the bridge, and you get to OT8, which is the top of the bridge, the highest level of spiritual freedom you can get at the moment in Scientology. There are supposedly more levels, OT9 and 10, but the reality is that they were never written, so they don't exist. So the highest you can get is OT8. And so imagine what it's like. Put yourself in the shoes of someone who spent a minimum $500,000. That's the minimum
It's
it costs to
definitely
get
more
to
than
that
that.
point.
Yeah. I don't know of
Usually it's more,
anybody
but
that's
that's the
got that.
absolute minimum, right? You get there, you spent your life doing this, you spent all this money, and there's no more, right? There's always stuff to do in the L's and superpower. There's always different things, but in terms of
Survival.
the bridge itself, right? You've done it, right? There's no more. So then the trick becomes, well, you have done everything. So you, of all people, should fully understand what Scientology really is, because you've done it. So you know more than anyone else on the planet. You know, less than 1% of humans have reached this state of being that you have reached. So you are in the top of the top. So you should now fully understand how important this is, and how this mission is the most vital thing we can do. And so therefore, if you don't want to help by joining staff or on the Sea Org or helping to disseminate and get other people up the bridge, then either you're an SP dickhead, or you haven't done something right, because you need to go back and really get it, the reason why this is the most important thing that we can do and why it's urgent. Like it's the same tactic, but it's just used in a different way wherever you are in your Scientology
Exactly. It
journey.
never ends. It's always a new thing. And for me, I thought once I get to OT3, that's all I need. Well, first it was clear, and then that didn't deliver what it promised. So I'm like, it must be OT3. And I was even going to wait for OT5, and then now it'll be OT7. I mean, I got more and more desperate. There is no relaxing point. You know, you're always, it's just like being in an abusive relationship. You're up, you're down, you're up, you're down. It's all based on a whim or your statistics or any number of things, but you can never, ever relax in a destructive cult. Never.
This is such a warning sign. I was actually watching
Mm-hmm.
a documentary about the Jehovah's Witnesses yesterday about this,
Oh,
and
really?
it was something they said that really resonated with me, which is why I wanted to bring it up, and I'm glad you did, of a similarity that a sign of it being a coercive group rather than a religion that you have freedom of choice and belief and so on that's not coercive. One of those warning signs is you're never good enough, right? You've never done enough. In Scientology, there's never a point where you finish an action or you complete a step on the bridge and they go, well done, that's amazing, right? Just go and sit with that for a bit and, see how you feel and come back whenever you're ready. And we can see what the next step is. It's immediately like, right, well, now you've done this, you need to do this. This is the next step, right? This is the next step. You've joined staff. Okay, well, now you need to join the Sea Org. You're in the Sea Org and you sold 100 books today. Okay, well, now you need to sell 101 next week. And there's never a point when you're enough. And because of that, you don't realize it in your head, but you're telling yourself you're not enough. You got to do more. You got to do more. You're putting pressure on yourself to work harder, to achieve more. And because of that, it starts to sink in that you end up having this doubt of yourself that you're not good enough, because there's always something more to do. There's always a higher level or more money to give or more books to sell. And that's a really way of coercing someone, because they make you feel like you have to do something next, and they don't therefore have to start suggesting that you need to do more, because you have a taste for it and you instinctively think, oh, I'm not doing enough. Even if you're doing great, you think you're not doing enough, and you're then encouraging yourself to go even deeper and do even more.
Same dynamic I had with my parents. They belittle you or beat you up, and are not saying on purpose, but once you have that lack of self-confidence, you will do your own mind control and you will keep yourself in line. They don't have to tell you that. I mean, it is reinforced all around you, but exactly what you just said, Jason Begay famously said, it's the prison of your own mind. I was a public, I was out and about. No one was preventing me from reading books. No one was preventing me from snapping out of it. I had the policies in my brain, and that dictated my life, the programming. Nobody needed to be around me to make sure that I wasn't accidentally exposed to the wrong material. I made sure I didn't look at wrong material.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
incredible. It's incredible
It's
how it
crazy.
works.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good time to maybe start moving this into a Q&A
Sure.
type thing. There's some
Sure. That's
questions I've got starred already. So, guys, if you
okay.
have questions for us, stick them in the chat and we'll go through them now. There's one here from Beach Kuma. What make is your mic, Alex? Great chat, guys. Thank you for the super chat, Beach. Is it Beach Kuma or Beach Coma? I always
I
say
think it's
Kuma.
Comer.
Coma. But
Comber. Yeah.
thank you.
I'll star rate word clear him Beachcomber after the chat here.
This is a HyperX Quadcast Solo S. It was actually donated
Wow. Can
by
you say
a
that again,
viewer.
Alex? That was so sexy.
A
The bass that you brought
HyperX
in. Yeah.
Quadcast Solo S. I
Excellent.
mentioned in passing in a
Excellent.
video that I needed a new microphone, and a viewer who I know who it is, but they want to stay anonymous, said,
Very
well,
nice of
let
them.
me help you out. And they sent me an Amazon gift card to buy this very lovely new microphone. So thank you again to that person. It's very, very kind of you. And
No shit.
I agree, it's a great mic. So I'm glad you also agree. Beach Coma, thank you. Lady Veritas, thank you
I
for the
love
super
you,
chat.
lady. You're so funny.
Oh
She's
yeah,
so good in the comments. I really appreciate your comments, lady. And yes, I'll is it Veritas? Yes, Lady Veritas.
Veritas. Yeah,
Thank you for keeping my mood high. I really appreciate your words.
absolutely. And I second
Also,
that for
lady, were
sure.
you in Scientology? I'm still vague on your backstory. Were you in another group? Are you an ex-Scientologist? Or I thought there was something about your backstory that I caught in the comments. If you don't mind letting me know.
So her comment, nothing intelligent to say. Can Doug just say my name? It makes my toes curl up. Oh, it makes my toes curl and I clap like a seal.
Lady,
Well,
can we
that's
get
an
you on
image.
to can we get you on to clap like a seal here as a guest? That I think people would like to see. That's awesome.
You
Thank you for
can't
your kind
leave a
words.
comment like that and not send in a video of that happening.
No
Please
shit. That
send
is
us
funny.
evidence. That's hilarious. But thank you for the super chat. I
Yeah, thank you,
appreciate
lady.
it. Colonel Brock had a great question. Doug, what did you think when you read OT3? For those of you who don't know, OT3 is the level in Scientology where you hear about the Xenu space opera alien, story that we don't necessarily need to get into now. If you don't know about it, Google it. But this is a secret level called the Wall of Fire, where you find out the true story of how Xenu, this galactic warlord, dropped H bombs into volcanoes and blew up these spirits, and it's kind of wild. So great question. How did you feel when you first read that?
First off, to reference that, I have two videos up where I want to take people through clear to the OT levels on the episode called Clear to Eternity. And I do have a video by L. Ron Hubbard where he talks about the entire OT3. And I threw some graphics in on the channel called like Xenu OT3 or something. I know people some people actually, I was surprised to learn that people didn't believe it when they got up to this level. Like Paul Haggis and Leah Remini had problems with it. For me, man, my dad had the library, like the ultimate library of every book, every space opera lecture, green volumes, red volumes, everything. So I had already had so much space opera indoctrination, and I was a hardcore Scientologist. So I listened to the tapes, and I put everything in my brain. So nothing was out of the ordinary with OT3. It was just like listening to another lecture. I was disappointed a bit because I didn't know why at the time, but the reason, Alex, is because what I and other Scientologists have in our mind is we're going to start doing like telepathy drills. We're going to do something really cool. We're going to read other people's minds, or, you have vague ideas of what you think these OT levels are going to be about. But like any called it bait and switches, and it's not what you want. So I found myself getting rid of these beings, and somehow this is supposed to make me more able. But I was like, where are the abilities that I was promised going to come from by getting rid of these beings? I couldn't logically figure out what the connection was, but I still trusted Hubbard. I said, if this is what he needs me to do, I'm obviously there's going to be OT abilities that come out as a result of finishing this crap. So I just decided to do it. I didn't doubt the story at all. I didn't check the math. My critical thinking was so shut down. I'm not trying to find out if the volcanoes actually did exist at that time. None of that crossed my mind. It was simply, if Hubbard says it, it's true. Just like if you ask anybody that believes in the Bible hardcore or whatever, they're not sitting there. You can talk to them and ask them questions, but they don't give a crap. It's like, dude, it's in the Bible. Jesus said it. Okay. End of story. It's just like that.
Yeah, Goldie says that happens on the next level. Like, that's coupled with what we were talking about today. Any doubts that you may have had are also coupled with, well, if there's something I don't understand or something I don't quite get, well, it will make sense when I'm ready for it. When I get to that
Exactly.
next thing, it will all make
Exactly.
sense when I do
It's
the
that
next thing.
simple.
And it just keeps you like dangling the
Yeah. And
carrot, right?
that would have worked for me if that book wasn't dropped off. And also what after that, I'm not going to tell the story, but a book was dropped off. It snapped me out of the cult. And then later that night or the next day, I sat in front of my computer for about 2 hours shaking. Should I go on and check OT4? Should I check what my next level is? That will prove if this is bullshit or not. So once I found out it was body thetans from then on out, and he promises you, Alex, no more body thetans when you finish OT3. So I was like, that motherfucker. This must sound hilarious to people when they're like, it takes years to work out the obvious. An outsider's going, dude, it's all a hoax. Just fucking, what are you talking about? But for us, once we've been programmed, we have to go through step by step. I have diaries filled with all my past lives to recheck them and were any of them true. And I know somebody could come along and say, dude, they're all bullshit. Move on with your life. But for me, I literally had to go through like almost all of them and check out, okay, I was just had false memories implanted in my
Yeah.
mind.
Joe DeSeppo said, I don't understand the Bible, but I know it's all true, as often repeated by John Atack in his stories. That is so true. And that is the mindset
Yeah.
of a
It's no
Scientologist.
different.
I didn't reach OT3. And you hear all these stories and you kind of think in the back of your head, yeah, that sounds crazy. And, I don't know whether it's true or not. It might just all be made up. But in my mind, it was like, well, even if it is true, when I get there, I'll understand it. It will
Sure.
make sense to me. Like, it
Sure.
sounds wacky to me now, space aliens and H bombs and volcanoes. But when I get to OT3, it will make sense to me. I'll understand it then. And that is such a good quote from John Atta. I don't understand the Bible. I don't understand Scientology. I don't get it, but
And
I know it's true.
And you know what, Alex? If you ask a Scientologist to explain Scientology, like when people would ask
Oh
me
my
to
God.
explain it,
This
Alex,
gets
it
me every
never even
time.
occurred to me that I couldn't actually explain it to somebody. Like a
See,
Scientologist really doesn't know what they're talking about because they really don't understand it because there's nothing to understand. It's
yeah.
not actually comprehensible. So when I listen to Scientologists talk now, or I see celebrities on, when they have to explain it, they really don't know how to answer that question. They know what they're programmed to tell from the
Mhm.
PTSSP course. We're drilled on what to say to public on certain questions or whatever. We're drilled on the party line. But if you ask a Scientologist, if you would have really pinned me down to break down Scientology, I couldn't do it because it doesn't make any sense. But you think that you know exactly what it is. It's just too confusing to even
I think
you yet.
also because it is so personal, right? What you get out of Scientology in the early
Good point.
stages is different to what I got out of it, which is different because it's so focused on what you want to improve in your life. It means different things to different people. So when you ask Scientologists, what do you believe in? And you kind of say it's practical tools, it's things you apply, you can do to improve yourself. That is like the best way of explaining it, because my route up the bridge will probably be different to your route up the bridge because of the things that I think in my brain, the way I operate, and the things I want to handle. So even though it's this, you can kind of explain the bridge and all of this, it won't make sense until you try it. And that's why
Yeah,
that is the line in Scientology. You should just
good
try it for
point.
yourself because it is so individual. It's so
It's
true.
true. I'm just saying if someone would have actually honed in on me and says, "Well, what is happening to auditing, Doug? When you say you're getting this fantastic, amazing feeling, what actually is happening? Is it possible that that's hypnosis?" If someone would have pinned me down on getting me to clarify what were these wins, that Katie Lohman chick, she says, "It just makes you feel good, Andrew. You got to come out and try this out. You got to trust me. Don't listen to what these people are saying. You have
Mhm.
to have the personal experience. You get on those
Mhm.
soup cans and you'll have a blowout win, then you'll know." But if you
And
ask them
again,
to explain that process, so how
yeah,
does it work? How does is a soup can, like, explain it to me. They'll give you the auditor answer. They'll give you the standard line. But I feel if somebody really would have pinned me down I eventually would have maybe realized I actually don't understand any of this
Mm,
shit.
mm.
Maybe I am being
and
hypnotized.
and that links into that objections thing. When you first start, I went in having all this black PR and knowledge of all these things people say about
Mhm.
Scientology, and they kind of go, well, look, what's the harm in trying? Just do this one course, right? You go in, you read the
Yeah.
book, you answer the questions on it, and if you don't like it, then you can leave. There's no strings attached. You try, and you kind of go, okay, well, why not, right? And I'll find out for myself. I'll do this one course.
Mhm.
And after doing that a few times, and no one's hassling you to join the Sea Org and locking you in a room and all of this, you kind of think, okay, well, maybe there is some truth to this thing, and maybe it is all wrong in the press, because actually, I've been doing Scientology courses for 6 months and no one's done anything horrible to me, and it all kind of makes sense. So, it's handling that objection. Lady
Yeah.
Veritas has just done a huge super chat. Thank you so
Wow. Oh my
much for the
gosh.
£20. Yes, Doug, long time Scientologist. I think the
Really?
reason I'm surviving the exit stage left is
That's
that
right.
it was my decision, and I chose to do it knowing the fallout. It was the first time I felt I had power over them.
Good for you, and that's right, you're jogging my memory. I do remember you mentioning that, and I'm also sketchy on wanting to leave a comment and ask if to know more, because I know it's a personal thing. If you ever wanna talk, lady, via email, or you ever wanna come on the show and share your experience, you're always welcome, as is anybody else, but I don't wanna press you for any information that you don't wanna share. Just congratulations on freaking getting out of there. I would
Mm.
love to h
And
'cause
and
anybody
both
that
of
does
us,
what she did, man, because she says she's been in for a long, long time, right?
yeah.
Like, anybody that pulls off what she does, I just love these people because it's fucking hard, man,
Yeah,
you
and
know?
and both of us, we said this last week, and I think we should say it every week, that
Mhm.
if you need help getting out of Scientology, you're trying to leave, and you need help, the Aftermath Foundation is there to do that. They won't convince you to leave. That's not their business. They will just help you get out, right? Whether that's book you a flight somewhere in the world, set you up with a job, a home, whatever it is you need, they will help you. But if you are in Scientology, or you have come out, doesn't matter, and you just want to like ask some questions, right, and just get something off your mind, Doug and I both are more than happy to talk
Yes.
to anybody, and neither of us, we don't care if you believe in Scientology or not, because that's
Exactly.
your
It's not
right to believe whatever you
exactly.
want. Neither of us want to try and convert you either way, right? And all we want to do is be there and help people, whether you're a Scientologist or not. And so
Exactly.
if you want to share your story or ask something or whatever, just email us, right? I'm hello@apostatealex.com. Doug, what's your email address?
dbncdoug@gmail.com, I believe, and it's the link in the description on every video. It says
Yeah, just
contact right at the top.
exactly. Like,
And
send us an
also, can I
email
can I
and
say
we'll
real quick.
listen. And it doesn't mean that you'll have to be on our show, right? You can talk to us in comment. I speak to people every single
Right,
day
right.
that share their stories that don't necessarily come on the show. Yes, Doug, sorry.
I
You
just
may
wanted
continue.
I'm sorry to cut your comm, bro.
No,
I
go for it.
mean, it's terrible TRs. I just wanted to say I'm busy and, I mean, it takes so much work to do life and the channel. So I definitely will get back to you, friends, anybody that writes. Sometimes it just takes me time because there's just too much to do. But I will get back to anybody that reaches out, as I know Alex will be. And you've helped out a ton of people already, bro. That's why I said
Mm.
it's so bitching having you in the community, brother. Seriously.
And if you reach out to Doug and he doesn't reply, reach out to me and I'll stick him in ethics.
Yeah, and that will work for sure. Somebody asked this a recurring question here, Alex, that I wanted to answer if
Yeah,
you don't
can
mind.
we
Sure,
quickly just do this,
sure,
the super chat, just because I want to
sure.
prioritize them.
Please.
Marilyn, $10. Thank you so much. She says, thanks guys. I love listening to you share your experiences. Although I was in a different cult, similarities are uncanny. It's like these cult leaders have the same handbook. I mean, that
They
is
really
so
do.
true. For those of you who don't know, Marilyn is the one that makes the bobblehead costumes, crochet, zine
Oh,
costumes
right.
and stuff. So if you haven't already, go check her out on Facebook if you have a bobblehead and want a little zine costume. But yeah, I completely agree. Like I said earlier about JWs and hearing people's experiences from different cults and groups, it's amazing how similar someone's journey can be to mine in Scientology when they were a Mormon or a JW or whatever, because the techniques are the same.
It is like that. In fact, I have an interview with someone called all destructive cults use the same playbook, because that's why I bring HG Tutor on. It's all about the cult leader's a narcissist, and so you can expect it to play out the exact same way. If you had an empathic person running a cult, that's impossible. You'd never have somebody that couldn't harm people form a
Mm,
destructive cult. It would be impossible because their conscience would kick in. This
yeah.
question that comes up a lot, I just wanted to
Yeah.
find the answer is, did anyone try to get you out or pull you out? How about you, Alex?
Um, No, not really. And also, if they did, it wouldn't have worked, because if you have a friend or someone that's in Scientology, being direct and saying you're in a cult or you need help getting out, or that sort of confrontation doesn't work. Actually, that just makes you think they don't understand it. And that makes
Exactly.
me want them to know even more about it and want to convert you even more or distance myself from them. So that doesn't work. But what does happen is, I'm only noticing this now, a decade after joining Scientology, if not more, like friends would treat me differently or talk to me differently because they have seen the change, but
Mm,
they don't want to confront it. So my friends, I'm very lucky that my friends and family have always been really supportive in anything I want to do.
mhm.
And they kind of like, well, look, Alex is doing his thing. We want to support him in that, even if it is a bit weird, which is a good thing. But it's also a bad thing because it kind of enabled it, but there's nothing they could have done because I
Right,
wouldn't have
right.
accepted any help because I thought I was doing the right thing.
Yeah,
I do want to do a video on the journey with my mother, which I'm not going to talk about too much until I've done this video, but that's a really interesting one because my mother
that will
wasn't a
be.
Scientologist and she wasn't 100% okay with me doing it, but she wasn't 100% anti it either. So that's a whole story in itself.
I'm really interested to hear that because, it must weigh on a mother or any parent that watches their kid go into something like that. And also, I'd be curious to know if she ever did any research on Scientology when her son was involved in it. Looking forward to that
Hmm.
one, man.
Hmm.
As far as nobody, remarkably, nobody really told me I was in a cult the entire time I was in there. Just like you said, my friends were respectful. And when I asked them about it afterwards, they just didn't know much about it. They thought it was weird, but they're my mates, so they're not going to question me. Not
Yeah.
really one person, except for the only time I ever heard you're in a cult is when I was on Hollywood Boulevard, which is right down from Celebrity Center, to do the tone scale drill, which is where we'd always go, to Hollywood Boulevard. And there was these biker guys that we'd pass every time, and they wouldn't just say you're in a cult; they would want to kick our ass, man. So it was always freaky going past the biker, part. But that's other than that, I never heard in my
Yeah.
30 some year tenure or whatever that I was in a cult, and
And
it
that's
wouldn't have
because
mattered anyways.
you surround yourself with people who are on board with the same mission, right? That's just what you do. And I
That
was book
and
selling.
people
I
didn't know
I got
about
the
it.
Xenu story all the time.
Mm.
But you just kind of think,
Oh
oh, they don't
wow,
really understand, they don't know it. But you just spend more and more time with other staff members, other Scientologists. So you
right?
end up in this little cocoon.
Love
Elizabeth
that.
Roberts, thank you for the super sticker, $3. Very kind of you. Let's get through some of these. I'm a little bit behind on some of these questions. So
Come on, Alex.
we've done
Get your
that one.
stats up, man.
Troy Snuffles, Alex, how are London staff able to live and pay rent in London if they are paid peanuts, or does Scientology provide housing? So there's a difference between staff and Sea Org. The Sea Org are people who have committed their life and all future lives to science. I always say it like that because it's kind of humorous, but also an important point. So if you sign your SEAL contract, you are fully committed like a monk or a nun. And yes, they provide your housing and your food and kind of effectively everything you need to survive. But if you join staff at a local org like London or New York, or like the class 5 kind of city level org like I did, you sign a 2.5 or a 5 year contract and you work either Monday to Friday, 9 till 6, or you work the evenings and weekends. And the idea is that you have another job outside of that. You have a life, you have your family, you have your house, and you make it work that you can volunteer on staff and get paid peanuts, because you're making income elsewhere to make it work. So you wouldn't be able to live and pay rent in London if just based on the money you got from the org, but because you're only there evenings and weekends or Monday to Friday, 9 till 6, you can use your evenings and weekends or your weekdays to earn an income to support you in doing that. Goldie, this is the most awesome community. 100% this is, and that's
It
one of the
really
biggest
is.
shocks for me of how
I
nice
know.
everyone has been.
Me
For
too.
sure.
Me too, actually.
Kellycopter with the little alien emoji. I think that's what we were talking about.
That's
Zenu,
awesome.
love Kellycopter. If you
Hey,
haven't
Kelly.
checked her out already, go check Kellycopter out. We're actually doing a video soon. I don't know how much she wants me to say publicly about it, so keep your eyes out. Keep your eyes open for that. From a poet, they don't give you time to
Yeah,
relax, so
exactly.
you don't have time to think.
Back on the farm with the other animals. Busy, busy, busy. No time to think. That's
Yeah.
from a document called Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars, by the way.
Yeah, and it's true. You know, you're always productive. You're always working. You've always got a stat, and it
Yeah.
links back to the you are never good enough. You always are doing something. So you don't have time to sit and reflect and think, how do I feel about this? Because you're just always working. Is 100% true what you
And
said.
Alex, you wouldn't think that would be such a big deal, but these little tools that cult leaders use one for one, they're really mundane. They're really simple. There's nothing genius about them. They just freaking work. If you starve someone of food and you sleep deprive them like they do in the Sea Org, you almost have them without doing anything else. So these
Yeah,
are really basic, crude tools that these narcissists use, but they're effective. And as soon as we recognize them, by the way, I don't want to quite say that I'm cult proof, Alex, because I never want to get that confident. I want to keep a little bit of uncertainty in the back of my head because I don't ever want to think that again because I knew I couldn't get caught to begin with. But let's just say that I recognize the flags. And once you know the knowledge of how it works, you're protected and it all looks hilarious. But until then, we can all be drawn, I feel, under the right circumstances and right conditions because we all want something out of life. And a guy like Alex could stroll along and tell you exactly what you want to hear after you've been in a breakup, or maybe you're in a good mood and you're just, you're going out doing job applications around the neighborhood, and Alex comes up and hits you with, "This is a way to be more successful." All you have to do is just hit somebody with what they want.
yeah, absolutely, 100% true. Marjan K. Kavusi. Alex, did you see my message before about Jehovah's Witnesses that you were looking for? Potentially not. I've been a bit lax on my communications the last couple of days, so please do chase me. Send me an email, hello@apostatealex.com, and I will reply. So sorry if I've missed it.
I do think I know what she's talking about, Marion. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you were pointing out Lloyd Evans to him, and if I understand,
Yes.
Lloyd is not. He was kind of had some. I can't say it on YouTube, but he kind of had PEDO allegations or something. I would check that guy out. I could have. I hope I could possibly have the wrong guy, but if I'm thinking of the famous ex Jehovah's Witness, he didn't. He seemed pretty freaking shady to me, and he lost a lot of his audience.
I don't know. All I know about Lloyd Evans is he's done an interview with Mike Rinder and I believe Chris Shelton, and he's
Maybe
an
I have the wrong
SJW,
guy.
but I haven't looked into it. But if it is about Lloyd Evans, yes, I did see it, and I've been watching some of his videos. But yeah, good point, Doug, to watch out on that. Thank you. Kellycopter. Hi, L. Well, hi, K.
What's the L? What does the L refer to? I think she just mistyped.
I think it's a typo, yeah. Aaron Hubbard, Alex, and Doug, what was your views about me being on Target 2? Did you both believe I was coming back?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, 100%. Mark Turi, Dung and I will be back for a part 5 soon.
That's a typo. We're going to be talking all about religion, and it's going to be fantastic. He's going to break down different denominations, and we have a part 5 coming on Saturday at 11 a.m. PST on my channel. I'm really looking forward to that. He's fucking awesome at breaking this shit down.
I had Mark on my channel. He's a really cool guy. That reminds me, I need to message you, Mark, because we kind of talked about doing a part 2 and I haven't.
You have to go through me, Alex. I'm actually his representative. So if you hit me, I'll see if I can get him to come on your show.
Right. Okay. Is that how this works?
I'm trying to set up my own cult here, brother. Help me out.
All right. Okay. And this is the last one I've got in my starred comments. Anhata PTS. The technology to hijack minds has been around for thousands of years. Yes. Our brains are all equally vulnerable to covert control without education. And I think that's a really good one to end it on. It's so true. What you said earlier about the more you think I'd never fall for a cult, actually, the more easy you would be to manipulate into a cult, because you're already thinking in this binary way. I would never fall for a cult it's an absolute. It's a no, but it's an absolute, right? And instantly, that's how you think when you're in a coercive group. It's black and white, yes or no. So if you're already thinking that way, even if it's the opposite to what they want you to think, you're already thinking in the way they want you to. So that makes you more manipulative, more easy to manipulate.
Those are the very people that cults seek out the most. The people that know that they can't happen, that it can't happen to them. That's a fact.
Yeah.
We
And it's
should go
true.
into that sometime in more detail sometime as to why that is, because man, that's the thing that they like to hear the most.
Yeah, 100%. But it is true. Education is so important, and a lot of people don't realize that anyone. I don't like using the term "fall for a cult," but anyone can find themselves in it because they deliberately go after people that have a good head on their shoulders and are intelligent and want to make things better about themselves and others. And you don't realize you're in it until you're in it. Like, no one joins a cult, right? They
Right.
have a way of manipulating you and coercing you, and this video is a way of highlighting some of the ways they do that. Even if you know it's a cult and you've heard these stories, they have a way of changing your mind and getting you to think maybe it's not all what
One other
people
thing
say.
about that real quick, Alex, maybe it's not everybody, because if you're a narcissist, you're not there to help and you just tell them to go fuck off. So I think that actually being a dickhead can proof you up against some of this stuff, because they're looking for people that can help. That's why they check the help button in Scientology. And that's what a narcissist does. So a narcissist is most likely to be self-serving and not necessarily join a group cause unless they get something out of it. I'm not saying Scientology doesn't have narcissists in there. Of course they do. But I'm just saying, if you care about people, beware, because I think that those people, I'm just speaking from personal experience, I think I'm much more vulnerable to joining a cult than a complete asshole who would be able to suss and not be maybe taken in as easily. It's just a
Because
guess.
you and I'm the same. You give people the benefit of the doubt. You're always
Yeah,
looking for the good in people, and
exactly.
because of that,
Right.
in the back of your mind, you're thinking, well, maybe there is something that's not quite understood correctly, or maybe it isn't quite as it seems.
Exactly.
Maybe, it's not quite as bad as people say, because you think everyone's well intentioned, and that's a good place to
Yes.
be. But
Great
that does
point.
mean you're easy to control, I suppose. That's how I
Exactly.
got in, because I was always like,
Exactly.
well, maybe it's not quite as bad. I want to give people the benefit of the doubt. If it was all bad, it wouldn't be, as successful as it is. So,
Right.
maybe I don't understand it, or maybe there is more to it.
Exactly.
CO Bilf, thank you for the heart and the $5
I
super
never
chat.
knew what that was, Alex. Is that someone's balls or is that a smiley face? I never understood the connotation of that.
Well, what do you think it is when you send it to me, Doug?
Well, we know it's a pair of balls when I send them to you, and maybe that's me just projecting.
It's a heart, Doug.
Alex,
Get
why
your
did you
mind
have to
out of the
bust my balls, man?
gutter.
We almost made it to the end without the
I
bromance.
can't
God
I
damn
can't
it.
let you get on a live stream with me without bringing the bromance up, bro. It's
Oh, I
real.
love it,
It's
bro. I love
real.
it. It's so funny.
Ava Joy Porter, thank you for the
Thank you,
super chat,
Ava.
$5. Thank you. Gives me hope. I'm glad, and that's
Awesome.
all
That's
we
what we
want to
want to
do here.
do, man. I mean, you got the comments that you get, Alex, and that I get, these people like it, as long as it freaking helps them, as long as they can relate, and it seems like it does. That's amazing, man. Because god damn it, that's what we thought we were doing in Scientology. I thought I was helping people when I was freeing these damn beings off of my body in my bedroom. It was amazing, brother. And I really felt like I was saving the planet. To have that ripped away from me, that empty hole, and then realize it was all a scam and it's embarrassing. And then if somebody says now they really, oh, hey, thanks, because I can relate to that story, man, it's like I don't think I got a single thing like that as a Scientologist. What I did get is my friends kind of, I would sit down with them often and show them the ARC triangle or introduce them to the misunderstood words, something I could get an in with them. And what they would do is not say anything like we just described. They would just be a little weirded out and say, that's interesting. And then they'd try to creep out of my house as fast as possible. So really helping people, or at least because we're healing too. We're not gurus. A mutual community of healing people. It's been fucking amazing. Sorry to
Yeah, I
rant. I
think
just wanted to say that, man.
no,
Real help.
it's true, and that's exactly why I'm doing my channel, and I believe it's the same reason you're doing yours, is sharing stories, sharing experiences. We started the chat with this, so maybe this is a good thing to end on, that
Perfect.
we aren't here to convince you to leave Scientology. We are here just trying to share our stories and personal experiences, and this is what Thursdays at 2 is all about. It's really deep diving into some of these things to
I
help
like
people
it.
understand, because a lot of our viewers aren't former Scientologists. A lot of people
Some are
haven't had
though.
any experience with this. Some are, but some aren't. And what I'm trying to do anyway is help people who weren't in understand exactly what goes on in your mind, to give
Exactly.
context, so you realize it's not just, you know, this story of believing in aliens. Like, there's more to it, to help people
Exactly.
figure out and realize how it works in your mind from personal experience. And for those who are in or have been in, helping that recovery route of, and hearing other people's journeys and realizing that you're not alone. We're all going through this. The recovery thing is a process, and we're all here to help each other. Scientology paints this picture that the world is this dark and scary, horrible place full of SPs, suppressive people that want to destroy your life. Nothing could be further from the truth. I have made so many good friendships and met so many amazing people that genuinely just want to help each other in this community, and that's been the most mind-blowing, lovely, supporting like thing ever.
That's a perfect place to end it, man. And we're happy to freaking have you in this community, man, because it's been amazing healing. Feel the healing.
Likewise. Exactly. Thank you so much, Doug. Before we
Thank
go,
you.
can't leave without a reminder. Thank you for everyone that came and watched this. First of all, it's been great to have you along. We will be doing this next week as well, every week Thursdays at 2, so join us next week. Leave a comment, not in the live chat, but the actual comments with any topics you want us to cover, and we'll see if we can cover that next
Yeah.
week. If you want to support the channel, best way of doing it, like, subscribe, share, comment. We are streaming from both my channel, Apostate Alex, and Doug's Days But Not Confused, so whichever one you're watching on, hop over to the other one and share the love. And honestly, sharing, subscribing, liking helps push the video out to more people, so that helps our channel grow and helps our message get across to other people. So thank you so much for that, who everyone is doing it. If you want to support financially, you can buy us a coffee. There's a link in the description for both of us. But that's it for now, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, Doug, and we
Thank
will
you,
see
Alex.
you
And thanks to the
next week.
commenters in the community. It's always good to see familiar faces.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys next week.